We all probably know the story of Selena, and if you don't, she passed away very young as a celebrity. Very unique situation, but the fact is that her husband and her dad were left behind. And when it comes to things of her estate, it's in the news that they were battling out. They could not come to an agreement in terms of what was fair for each of them to receive after Selena passed away. Hi, beautiful. Welcome to this episode 1, and we're going to talk about love. It's the romantic love type we're talking about today. So I'm going to share with you that I've been married over 10 years. Yes, and I have 2 girls, and I've learned so much through marriage, but I've also learned a lot through different relationships. So if you're tuning into this episode and you're just getting started, I want to share with you some lessons that I learned along the way. So when I was in high school, right, I started dating this guy. I was actually in youth groups. I thought that he was like different. He was rebel, I was always very proper. So of course I went with the opposite type, but never really knew what a relationship was for. All I knew is that, hey, people are dating in high school. It felt like everyone was dating in high school and that you needed to have a boyfriend. But in reality, oh my God, being in a relationship it has some good things, but it's also work, because sometimes if you're a woman and the other guy isn't mature and doesn't have as much maturity as you're gonna feel like you're parenting that person, or you need to fix that person. And somehow in that relationship, yes, I was like, oh, this is fun, but I'm like, oh, I'm going to fix him. That's okay. We can stick out this relationship. I'm gonna fix him. Well, what if the guy doesn't want to be fixed? And this was the case. So when you're in a relationship, you're accepting the other person for who they are, and they're accepting you for who you are. And that also means that you're bringing the best version of yourself to the table, that you're thinking about, what can I contribute to this relationship to make it better, not just what am I going to get for me. Because I think that is a huge thing when we look at like how dating apps are designed right now. Tell me if I'm wrong, please, because I have not been on a dating app. I'm just going by like third accounts and what people share. It's kind of like, what are you looking for, right? Versus what am I, like, are there questions, or like, what am I willing to offer the other person? Typically not. It's like, oh, do I like that person? And then you just like check it, right? So it's what you're looking for. But in a relationship, it's a two-way street. It's what are you willing to contribute to grow that relationship? And what is that other person willing to contribute as well? And going back to that, we cannot fix people. Like, people want to have to change. Like, if they decide that they want to improve, they will do that, but they're not going to get changed by you. You can influence that person, but the question is, how much work are you really going to put into it, or want to put into it? If you're dating, are you dealing with maybe some trauma? We don't usually talk about this, like, how was your upbringing? Did you have a difficult childhood? Or tell me about that. No, typically we want to show the best side of ourselves, but I think it's important to have those conversations, because if you're in a relationship, unless it's just like a fling and I'm just, not really developing a serious relationship, and even that's something, I'm not a therapist, so that's something to talk to a therapist about. But if you're thinking about it's a relationship and it could lead to something in the future, you want to start it on a foundation, like a good foundation, and you want to know what that foundation is, because that foundation may not be stable, and that means you may need to rebuild the house or do some work. We could go to a therapist. If the finances are messed up, like student loans, credit debt, all that, and you're bringing that into a relationship, financial coaching, right? I mean, that's a huge part. A lot of marriages end up in divorce because they've never really talked about their finances and how they manage money and how they're willing to manage money. Like, that's not usually a discussion. So I ended, fortunately, that relationship while I was in college, because I was seeing that we were not going forward. We were growing apart. He wanted to have kids, and I wanted to finish my college and actually grow my career. So there was definitely a separation there. I wanted to keep developing personally, growing in my career, and he was okay with the life that he had and not really investing in developing himself. So that is why we grew apart, and I'm happy that I finally got it that no, I cannot fix any guy. Pretty much how they come is what you get. So if you want to attract a better person, you need to become a better person. That's a fact. That's a fact. Am I really showing up as the best version of myself? And then you believe that you deserve to attract someone that is bringing something to the table, and then commit to growing together. But it's a two-way street, and you need to be open to know what foundation you are. So I waited to date. So if you're in a relationship and it's not going well, you're ready to exit that, don't make the mistake of going into another relationship without giving yourself space to really invest in yourself. You're going to find that when you're growing yourself personally, you're going to be in a much better place to attract a better person for yourself because you're happy. When I started dating my husband, I was perfectly fine being by myself. I did not need another relationship. And I think that is the best time to attract someone. Now, mind you, I've been married over 10 years and there's been a lot of lessons in our marriage. And yes, I could have done that foundation work. That's why I'm giving you this advice, because you learn it later, right? I did ask for something. This time I'm like, okay, I'm gonna actually ask for what I want to look in the partner, and ask for 3 things, and I got the 3 things. 1, get me closer to God. We've had many life experiences that have helped with that. That he would sing. He used to be able to sing, not anymore, but sing. And then the other was that we could, have conversations and grow together, that we could grow together, and we have definitely grown together. So he helps me edit the videos and has really challenged me to continue showing up in the best version. So that I do appreciate that from him, that he does that. And here we are, creating this episode for you, wishing that you're in a relationship where you are growing together. Now, if you're in a relationship right now and that relationship is kind of shaky, right? It's kind of shaky whether you've been married or you've been dating, and you still want to stay together, there's more pluses than minuses, then it's an opportunity to really do some work. So this is going to transition me to the financial piece of it. So I am a real estate broker with eXp Realty, with the Tanya Flores team, and I've integrated financial coaching. Why do I see that it's so important? Because so many marriages end up in divorce. And typically when we think about Valentine's Day, we think about giving chocolates and flowers, and all those are nice. But what happens if one of you has an accident and dies, or has a property and something happens to you? Have you talked about how that's going to be handled? Or if you have kids, who's going to be in charge of raising your kids? So all of these pieces are covered in what's called a financial coaching session. And what a lot of people don't know, which is why I'm sharing with you, is we offer free financial coaching. So there's no cost to it. The goal is to help you be able to talk about debts and ways you can repay that debt in a more effective way, so they have more money to save and grow your wealth. We also can discuss things like estate planning, for example, leaving a will, making sure your property has someone that it's assigned to in case you're pass away. A lot of us had loved ones that passed away. At least I know people in my circle that lost loved ones to COVID, and unfortunately a lot of them didn't have a will in place. If you're young, you may be thinking, why do I even need to think about this right now? I'm living the life. Well, the fact is that things happen to young people too. And you want to make sure that your family is protected and does not have to deal with the stress and uncertainty on what to do if something were to happen to you. We all probably know the story of Selena, and if you don't, she passed away very young as a celebrity, very unique situation. But the fact is that her husband and her dad were left behind. And when it comes to things of her estate, you know, it's in the news that they were battling out. They could not come to an agreement in terms of what was fair for each of them to receive after Selena passed away. So if you have these conversations, are able to get it set up with a will and make sure you have the proper protection, your family is not going to have to deal with that unnecessary stress. So as I mentioned before, we do free financial coaching. And our goal is to make sure, first of all, we're helping you take care of your existing finances, but also thinking about what are your future dreams and goals, and who are those loved ones that you care for. You want to make sure that they're taken care of. Now, when it comes to love, some of you may be thinking, I haven't found the right partner yet. I'm not yet in the dating scene, but I wanted to watch this episode to see if I can get some tips or some advice. So let's talk about dating apps. How is it out there? I mean, there's so many different dating apps from what I hear. I hear because I've not been on them because I've been married over 10 years. So we have Tinder, Bumble, Coffee and Bagel. I know they were on Shark Tank. So a lot of apps. Maybe you can share what has been your experience with them. What I sense is a lot of frustration. The frustration is that you go on an app, right? And people are looking. Sometimes you don't always get the true story right. You get like the best version of the story. Sometimes not even the right picture of the person from what I've heard from other people that have been on the apps. So this person asked, what would you like for dating apps to have? And I was like, well, it would be great, right? This is probably on the extreme, but it would be great to know, what is your credit score? What are your finances like? Did you have any traumas as a child? Like, these are conversations that are important to have because you're going to be committing time that is important to you into a relationship, but you don't know the outcome, right? You're investing time in a relation, don't know the outcome, but at least if you can have open conversations about what your life was like, you can know if you're a match or if there's some work that you're willing to do because you really like some other things from this person. So that's what I would include in the dating app. What would you include in the dating app that isn't there right now? What would you include in those initial dates, or that you wish that other person knew? For those of you ladies, what do you wish the guys knew about dating that they don't already know? For those of you that are guys, what would you like for the girls and ladies to know that they don't already know? So I'm not a matchmaker here, but I would at least love to hear where you're at. And I trust that the right person will come along at the right time. Remember, it's really about growing yourself and making sure in your growth that you're attracting a person who is also equally growing and developing themselves. Because you don't want to be in a relationship that, pulls you down instead of helps you grow. When it comes to love, right? One of the things that we love the most, or at least a statistic recently that I read, was that pre-pandemic, less than 60% of the people love their home. After the pandemic, like now it's like 70%. So when you find a home, you gotta love it. So if you are looking for a home that you wanna love, reach out. We do offer free buyer consultations, whether you're looking to move into a condo, a single family house, a multi-family house, or you're just ready to move to a total different country. I am part of the largest growing brokerage, eXp Realty, and I'm based out of Illinois, but we've got connections to over 70,000 agents. So if you're looking to move somewhere that is not in Illinois, please reach out. I'd be happy to find an agent that would be able to help you with your next move. Remember, with the Tanya Flores team, together we move you forward. The most important thing you can have in a relationship, I heard recently, and I thought there was some accuracy to this, is respect. You want to find someone that respects you and values you for who you are. Sometimes you can get into a relationship where, the person is constantly judging you for what you don't do, for what you're not. And if you're in that type of relationship, either there's some work and conversations that need to be done, or you need to exit out. We've all heard of recent situations and celebrities that have ended up separating because the person wasn't faithful. You should not be in a relationship, at least that is my thought. Maybe you have a different thought, where the person is not faithful to you and is not respectful. I think if you're in a relationship right now and you are not on the same page and you're even having thoughts of, for example, infidelity, you should have an open and honest conversation with that person versus making the mistake of going behind the person's back. You know, when I was dating in high school, I told you about this relationship where I was trying to fix the person. So the person actually cheated on me. And after that relationship, it was really hard to trust again in another person, because once your trust is broken, it's hard to trust again. But you know, fortunately, things can cure themselves. But if it wasn't necessary, right? If that person would have just had an honest conversation, then things would have, you know, ended honestly. Hey, I'm not happy in this relationship, or I'm not getting what I need. Like things like that. Like relationships need to be based on honesty, on telling the truth and letting the other person, hey, this is where we're at, this is what I think we need to work on if we want to keep it together, or hey, you know what, I really appreciate you being in my life, it's time to move on to a different chapter. Like to death do us part was a thing back then, and I think there is some credit to couples and people trying to work it out to be in a marriage. But there is also credit to understanding when that marriage is no longer helping the other person grow, when the person is not growing. The purpose of this life is for you to define what is your purpose and to be able to serve people. Serve people, maybe your family, and serving people maybe outside of your family as well. If we do things with respect and love, we can have loving relationships that make this world a better place. So I'm glad that you tuned in and watched this episode of Let's Talk About Love in Your Dreams and Money show. Make sure that you like and subscribe this channel, and make sure you tune into the next episode. I'm so glad you listened and that you were part of this conversation. Can't wait what you have to say in the comments. My name is Tanya Flores, and I'm happy to see you here today. See you in the next one.